You're standing in the living room on a forgettable Tuesday afternoon, folding laundry the same way you've done 1,000 times. But today, something feels wrong in the air. It's the silence, the kind of silence that presses on your chest. Your son hasn't come out of his room in 3 days except to snatch the plates of food you leave outside his door like he's a ghost you're trying not to startle. When you finally gather the courage to knock, your knuckles barely touch the wood before the door cracks open an inch. And that's when you see it. Not him. Not the boy who used to help you bake chocolate chip cookies and grin when you burned half the batch. No, you see someone hollowed out. Someone who looks at you like you're a stranger trespassing in his home. His voice is calm in a terrifying way to calm. He speaks in lines that sound memorized, like someone rehearsed them with him. Talk of awakening, of brotherhood, of a digital family that truly sees him. Every word is a knife you're forced to swallow. That's when the horror hits you, heavier than anything you've ever carried. Your child has been taken. Not by a person you can confront, not by a place you can storm into, but by voices that live inside a glowing screen, voices you can't touch, can't shut off, and can't compete with. And then comes the question that keeps mothers awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling through tears. How do you rescue your child from an enemy with no face? How do you prove to him that the woman who raised him, who sacrificed every piece of herself for him, isn't the villain these strangers have painted you to be? I am 52 years old, and I have spent the last 27 years of my life being a mother. That was my identity, my purpose, my entire world. I worked as a medical transcriptionist from home so I could always be there when Marcus came home from school. I never missed a parent-teacher conference. I drove him to soccer practice 3 times a week for 6 years. When his father left us when Marcus was 9, I worked double shifts and took on weekend projects so that Marcus would never feel the absence of financial stability. So that he could still go to summer camp, so that he could still have the sneakers the other kids wore. I taught him to be kind, to think critically, to question things that seemed too good to be true. I thought I had given him every tool he needed to navigate this world safely. I thought I had done everything right, but what I did not account for was loneliness. Marcus had always been a little awkward, a little quieter than the other kids. He had friends in high school, but they were casual friendships, surface-level connections. When he started community college 2 years ago, he struggled to find his place. He would come home and spend hours in his room, and I thought he was studying, maybe playing video games, doing normal things. I thought he was just introverted, taking his time to adjust to adult life. I did not know that he had stumbled into an online forum that promised him belonging. I did not know that there were people on the other side of that screen who were studying him, analyzing his vulnerabilities, crafting messages designed specifically to make him feel seen and valued and special. I did not know that they were using psychological tactics refined over years, that they were love-bombing him with attention and praise, that they were slowly isolating him from everyone who actually loved him. I did not know that they were teaching him to see me, his own mother, as part of the corrupt system holding him back from his true potential. It started so gradually that I did not even notice at first. He stopped eating dinner with me, said he had online meetings with his study group. He started sleeping at odd hours, staying up all night and sleeping through the afternoon. When I asked him about school, he became defensive, told me I did not understand the real education he was getting, the truth he was learning, started using strange language, talking about levels of consciousness and digital ascension and the lies we had all been fed by mainstream society. He talked about a teacher, someone named Orion, who was guiding him and others toward enlightenment. When I suggested that maybe he should take a break from the computer and spend some time outside, he looked at me with something close to pity, like I was a child who could not comprehend advanced mathematics. He told me I was still asleep, still trapped in the matrix of conventional thinking. I laughed it off at first, thought it was just a phase, some internet philosophy he would grow out of. But then he started pulling away even more. He stopped doing his laundry. He stopped showering regularly. He stopped going to his college classes altogether. When the school called to tell me he had not attended in 5 weeks, I confronted him, and he exploded. He screamed at me that traditional education was a brainwashing system designed to create obedient workers, that Orion and the others were teaching him real knowledge, sacred knowledge that had been suppressed for centuries. He told me that I was trying to control him, just like the rest of the world, that I wanted him to be a slave to the system. I stood there in shock, unable to recognize the person in front of me. This was not my son. This was someone else, someone who had been programmed with a script. When I tried to reason with him, he slammed his door in my face and locked it. I heard him on the phone immediately after, reporting to someone that his mother was trying to sabotage his progress. My own son reporting me like I was the enemy. Then he started asking me for money. Small amounts at first, $20 here, $50 there. He said it was for books, for materials he needed for his studies. I gave it to him because I was desperate to maintain any connection, any thread of communication. But then the amounts got bigger. He needed $200 for a special seminar. He needed $500 for a retreat that would advance him to the next level of training. When I said I did not have that kind of money to spare, he accused me of sabotaging his spiritual growth, of being selfish, of never supporting his dreams. He said that Orion had invested so much time in him, that the community had given him so much, and that the least I could do was help him give back. I felt like I was being manipulated, but I also felt terrified that if I refused, I would lose him completely. So I gave him $300 from my emergency savings, and I watched him transfer it immediately to some account I had never heard of. But what finally broke me was the day I came home from the grocery store and found Marcus packing a suitcase. When I asked him where he was going, he told me with calm certainty that he was moving to a community house in another state, a place where he could live with other awakened individuals and fully commit to his training. He said Orion had arranged everything, that there would be 12 of them living together, supporting each other, working together toward collective enlightenment. He said he was finally going to be free from the toxic influence of people who did not understand him. When I asked if I was one of those toxic influences, he did not even hesitate. He said yes. He said I had been holding him back his entire life with my limited thinking and my fear-based parenting. He said that Orion had helped him see that I had never truly loved him, that I had only loved the version of him that obeyed me. I felt something shatter inside my chest. This was not teenage rebellion. This was complete psychological capture. I did not cry. I did not beg. I told him very calmly that I loved him, that I would always love him, and that I was not going to let him destroy his life. He laughed at me and said there was nothing I could do to stop him. He was an adult, could make his own choices. And then he walked out the door with his suitcase, got into a car with 2 people I had never seen before, and drove away. I stood in the doorway watching the car disappear, and I felt a rage so pure and so focused that it burned away every other emotion. These people had stolen my son. They had used his loneliness and his vulnerability against him. They had manipulated him into hating the one person who had sacrificed everything for him. And I was going to get him back. I spent the next 3 days doing nothing but research. I read everything I could find about online cults and high control groups. I learned about love bombing and thought stopping and phobia indoctrination. I learned about how these groups target young people who are isolated, who are searching for meaning, who feel like they do not fit in. I learned that they create an us versus them mentality, that they teach members to cut off anyone who questions the group, that they use sleep deprivation and financial manipulation to maintain control. I found forums where people shared stories about losing family members to these groups, where ex-members described the tactics used to keep them compliant. And I found the name of the group Marcus had joined. It was called the Ascension Collective, and it was run by a man named David Crane who went by Orion online. He had been doing this for 7 years, recruiting vulnerable young people, taking their money, isolating them in group houses, and working them like servants while promising them spiritual advancement that never came. I also found a private investigator who specialized in cult deprogramming. Her name was Patricia. And she had spent 15 years helping families extract loved ones from high-control situations. She told me that the window for intervention was narrow, that once Marcus was fully embedded in the group house, it would be much harder to reach him, but that there were strategies we could try. She explained that confrontation and force would only push him deeper into the group. That I needed to maintain communication no matter what. That I needed to plant seeds of doubt without seeming like I was attacking his beliefs. She taught me techniques, phrases, questions designed to activate his critical thinking without triggering his defenses. She helped me understand that my son was not gone, that he was still in there somewhere, just buried under layers of manipulation and fear. So I started texting him every single day. Not lectures, not arguments, just small messages. I love you. I am thinking about you. I made that pasta you like and I saved you some. I saw a cardinal today and it reminded me of when you were 8 and we counted birds in the backyard. I sent him photos of our old dog, pictures from his childhood, little reminders of who he had been before all of this. At first he did not respond at all. But after 2 weeks, he sent back a single sentence. Stop trying to manipulate me. I did not stop. Kept sending messages, kept being gentle, kept reminding him that I was there. And slowly, very slowly, he started responding. Short responses, defensive responses, but responses. He told me about the house, about the work they were doing, about the progress he was making. I did not argue. I just listened. I asked questions that sounded supportive but were designed to make him think. That sounds intense. Are you getting enough sleep? That is a lot of work. Are you getting paid for your time? That is interesting. What made Orion decide that? At the same time, Patricia was doing her own investigation. She found public records showing that David Crane had been sued twice by former members for financial exploitation. She found testimonies from people who had escaped the group, who described being forced to work 12-hour days recruiting new members online, who described being punished with isolation and public humiliation if they questioned anything. She found evidence that Crane was living in luxury while the members in the group houses lived in near poverty. She compiled everything into a document, but she warned me that I could not just send it to Marcus. His mind was programmed to reject anything that contradicted the group narrative. I needed to wait for the right moment. A crack in his belief system. That moment came 5 months after he left. He called me at 2 a.m, and his voice was shaky and exhausted. He said he needed to talk to someone, and I was the only person he could think of. He told me that he was tired, that he had been working 16-hour days for weeks, that he had not been outside in a month, that Orion kept promising that advancement was coming, but it never did. He told me that one of the other members had tried to leave and had been verbally destroyed in a group meeting, accused of betraying the family, told that he would never find truth or belonging anywhere else. Marcus said he had watched it happen and had felt something shift inside him, a whisper of doubt. He said he did not know what to think anymore, that he was confused, that he was scared. I told him that confusion was okay, that fear was a sign his instincts were trying to protect him, that it was brave to question things even when it was hard. And then I asked him if he wanted to see some information I had found, not to convince him of anything, just so he could make a fully informed decision. He was quiet for a long time, and then he said yes. I sent him the document. I did not hear from him for 3 days, and I was terrified that I had pushed too hard, that I had lost him for good. But then he called me again. He said he had read everything, that he had started looking things up on his own, that he had found more stories, more lawsuits, more evidence. He said he felt like he had been sleepwalking and was just now waking up. He said he felt stupid, ashamed, angry. Oh, I told him that he was not stupid. Okay? That he had been targeted by someone who was very good at manipulation, that thousands of people had fallen for the same tactics. He cried, and I cried, and he told me he wanted to come home. But he said he was scared that leaving would mean admitting he had been wrong, that the others would turn on him, that he did not know how to extract himself. Patricia coached me through it. We arranged for her to drive out to the house and pick him up while the others were at a group meeting. We planned it carefully and it worked. Marcus walked out with nothing but a backpack, and Patricia drove him home. The first few weeks were brutal. Marcus was angry at himself, angry at Orion, angry at the world. He had nightmares. He had panic attacks. He struggled with guilt over the people he had recruited into the group, over the money he had given them, over the time he had lost. Patricia connected us with a therapist who specialized in cult recovery. And slowly, very slowly, Marcus started to heal. He started going outside again. He started talking about enrolling back in school. He started being my son again, not the programmed stranger who had walked out of my door. And one afternoon, about 2 months after he came home, he looked at me and said, "Thank you." He said, "Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for fighting for him when he could not fight for himself. Thank you for loving him even when he could not love himself. I learned something through all of this that I do not think I fully understood before. Being a mother does not mean being obeyed. It does not mean being appreciated or respected or even liked. It means showing up again and again, even when the person you love cannot see you clearly, even when they have been taught to hate you, even when every instinct tells you to protect yourself and walk away. It means fighting battles that no one else can see, against enemies that hide in plain sight. It means holding on when everything tells you to let go. Marcus is 22 now, and he is building a new life. He is taking classes again. He is seeing a therapist. He is learning to trust himself. And I am learning to trust that the love I poured into him for 27 years was stronger than the poison someone else tried to pour in over 20 months. We are not the same people we were before this happened. We are scarred and we are wary and we are stronger. And we are still here, still together, still fighting. Let me know in the comments, what would you have done in this situation? And do not forget to subscribe to Golden Years Diary for more stories like this.